Hello, my name is Alan Valdivia, and I've chosen to do my culture project on India. India is a fast-growing nation, and it ranks as the world's largest democracy. The country has seen a surge in economic growth, population, and investment. On August 15th, 1947, India gained independence from the British who had been controlling the country since 1858. It's a country with over 15 official languages, some 300 minor languages, and some 3,000 dialects. Some of the largest languages spoken are Hindi and English, and with over 1.3 billion citizens, it's easy to understand why there are so many languages spoken in India. It's a vast country with many unique people and traditions, and since there are so many languages spoken there, most Indians have learned to be bilingual. India is home to many religions such as Buddhism and Christianity, but most Indians are Hindu, as this has had a major influence on Indian culture and society, and it features in everyday life. As a result of such a heavy religious influence, a social caste system has developed, which you are born into. The caste system has existed in India for some 3,000 years, and it is a social hierarchy that is passed down through families, and it can dictate the type of jobs a person can work, who they can associate with, and who they can even marry. Most Indians identify themselves in a certain caste, and there's a type of segregation between different castes, where each caste only associates with its own members and no outside castes. While in the past discrimination of different castes was very fierce, in India as it has grown and modernized, different castes are learning to live side by side, and the differences between the castes are starting to decline. There are some cultural differences when doing business with India, and these issues include communication, time orientation, and business relationships. It's important to understand how the Indian worker is different from the workers in the West. They expect to be treated very differently, and their workflow and goals are different. In India, relationship building is very important, and business deals will usually take place over many meetings as the different parties meet and get to know each other. In the West, business is much more task focused and there's little time spent on personal relations with clients or partners. Indians see that as being rude and dismissive, which is why it's important to answer their questions and be open and social when you're meeting with them for the first time. The way meetings are done in India is very different from what we are used to here, where the most senior person in the room is greeted first with respect to the hierarchical structure in India. Communication is also different as it tends to be indirect, and even interruptions during meetings are accepted and common in some companies. In India, it's common for meetings to be informal, where people come and go, and others come and talk to other meeting members, or even talk on the phone. In America, this type of behavior would be seen as extremely rude. In India, it is better to just accept it if it happens to you, as that is just a part of the Indian business culture. While making business related decisions, Indians will want to get to know the person they are working with as best as they can, and they use their trust and intuition as well as data to make their final choices. In India, the easiest way to have any business meeting be successful is to establish a personal relationship with your client, as trust with you are more likely to find more agreement that favors all parties. It's also important to expect many rounds of negotiation, as they like to do business in the long term and get as many details as possible before they make any major decisions. And it's important to also not be irritated by the number of questions and information that would be requested. People in India love to negotiate, and it can be expected that it will be a major stage in the negotiation process. Some of the common issues when working with Indians is that they will have trouble saying no, and it can be seen as being offensive to them. They often will say things that the person they are talking to will like to hear, and sometimes saying yes may mean that they may have great difficulty with the task or not even do it at all. As a result, their communication style can be very indirect and it relies on listeners reading between the lines. Indians have been raised with the concept of having as little conflict as possible, and they have difficulty saying no or the truth in a difficult situation. Something that you can do to help with that issue is to learn and understand the subtle communications and body language of the people you're working with. Communication in India can be indirectly requiring you to read between the lines and catch the hints and euphemisms that are out there. 70% of companies whose international business relationships cited cultural misunderstandings as the reason for failure in India. The most important thing to do in India about business is to understand their culture and their way of life, as that's the only way that you will be able to do business successfully in India. So, in conclusion, it is important to first understand Indian history and culture, and you have to lay the groundwork and knowledge to be able to understand how they work, so you can do business with them as few problems as possible. Indians have a different view of the world, life, and work than Westerners do, and these differences can cause friction that can make doing business difficult. That's why it's the most important thing for anyone wanting to do business in India is to understand their culture first, as that is the key to having a successful business venture in India.